Thank you so much, Andrea, the SG of the conference, Rotaractors, Interactors, and the Rotarians in the house. It's a pleasure and I'm excited to see you all. Rotaractor Waiswa from Kampala, Uganda, from the Rotary district of 9214. I've been in Rotary for the past 7 years. And I've participated also in very many MUN programs, one of them being the Rotaract Global MUN Conference. I've also participated in the Arab Youth International MUN programs. I've taken part in the Future We Want MUN programs, and the International Model United Nations in Africa, plus very many other MUN programs. I also run an organization in Africa. It's called the Afro Delegates Foundation. And its purpose for its being founded was to advocate for diplomacy and positive mindset transformation among the young people in Africa through simulation of the Model United Nations programs. So it's expanding, it's in very many African countries, and we train delegates and even simulate various conferences at a national and international level. And I'm here in Romania for the first time to chair the United Nations Security Council that is going to kickstart tomorrow. I'm more than excited to meet very many good change makers that are going to resolve, discuss, and negotiate to see that we come up with resolutions that not only end in the committees, but reach at the UN desk and also at the Rotary International Decision-Making Committee for implementations. And for today, we felt like this could be part of our activity to hold a workshop with Rotaractors and Interactors in regards to the Model United Nations programs, so that we familiarize with the system and also expand our knowledge, learn from each other, relearn, unlearn, and relearn in that angle, so that we can drive this agenda and the vision of Rotaract Global MUN to expand in the European countries, in North and South America, not forgetting the Asian continent and Africa at large. So it is an honor to be here as the lead facilitator for our workshop, and to the Rotarians of the Rotary E-Club, thanks for this initiative, thanks for organizing and taking lead towards having such an impactful initiative. So without wasting much time, we shall have 3 items that we're going to look at in our workshop. One shall be the fundamentals of Model United Nations, and in those you will appreciate the history of MUN. You'll also appreciate the basics. In brief, what are the A to Z that are involved in Model United Nations? I'll further take you through the MUN societies, the MUN conferences, then being a delegate and being an organizer like Andrea, what does it call for? Because we want to empower you, to equip you with the skills, not only as a delegate, but even to be able to organize local Rotaract MUN conferences. And then above all, as a Rotaractor, what does MUN add to you in terms of the benefits at the present and in the future, and in your careers that you're going to pursue after your colleges and universities? So that is the first item of the planned agenda. And after that, we shall also take you through how to get ready for any MUN conference. So we shall give you the A to Z of how to get ready after having the picture of what Model United Nations is. And then lastly, we shall sample, or we shall simulate It could be a 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes simulation where we shall test the knowledge that you've acquired in the two first items that were on the agenda. So I'll allocate countries to you and sample out some topics that we shall now check out ourselves on how you relate to the rules of procedures and the proceedings of the MUN committees. I believe we all excited, right? Perfect. Now, let me start straight away with the fundamentals of the Model United Nations. You take me directly to, yes, perfect. So as you see, MUN started in 1943. It is not something that is starting now. It is not something that has started in the 21st century, but it is a program that was analyzed, and the influential leaders felt like it could help the young people to be brought on board as decision makers in this world and to be problem solvers on the various issues that affect us. So in 1943, it was simulated in Washington, DC, and that created or initiated the spread of the entire program. So later, it was built and it spread up to Africa, where we had our first Model UN in Cairo, Egypt. That was in 1989. So you look at the schedule and you look at the history of how it was started, and to date, it shows that it is a sustainable program and it is really impacting on the young people out there in regards to what is required in terms of the skills of the 21st century. Furthermore, yes, so MUN is basically a program that is designed to help us, one, learn about international community, because there are very many issues that happen. There are very many issues that are happening. You are aware of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. You are aware of the conflict that is ongoing in Sudan. You are aware of the wildfires that happened 2019-2020 in Australia. I believe you hear of the heat waves. Climate change is a song nowadays. So all issues are happening, and it is the role of the international community to come on board and see how best they can be resolved. So through MUN, as young people, as Rotaractors, as interactors, we get a chance to stand in positions and represent our countries and debate and discuss and negotiate and resolve and come up with solutions in regards to such issues, not only waiting for the real UN General Assembly. It also helps us to have and acquire soft skills in life, and also an atmosphere to have fun, to interact with various peers of different professions, of different backgrounds. I'm now here, I come from Uganda, there is a delegate from Liberia, we shall meet delegates from Romania. So the ability for us to utilize such an atmosphere and work hand in hand and negotiate and accept each other's opinions irrespective of their backgrounds is what MUN avails as a platform on the other hand. And then it also gives you a chance at your early age to take the position of representing various nations in positions or at a level of a delegate. For example, tomorrow there are delegates that have been allocated countries. Some will represent UK, others will represent the Russian Federation, others will represent Albania, Switzerland, and they are going, to discuss and resolve on behalf of those countries at an early age. And what does that bring? They might be the future country representatives of FAO, of UNESCO, of UNICEF, of WHO. Who knows? Because it starts now for who you're going to be in the future. And furthermore, we have now the statistics, because I think this will give you a broader picture of what really MUN is. It is not only here in Bayamare, but it is globally being utilized and simulated. So you can look at the first parameter in terms of the MUN statistics. One, hundreds of MUNs every year in every continent have been held and split between high schools and university levels, sometimes also called the college what? Levels. I believe some of you are in colleges, some of you are in high schools. So it goes to all those levels and they are simulated in form of national MUNs and international MUNs. And an estimated 300,000 participants participate in MUN every year. It is estimated that 300,000 participants participate in MUN. And over 63 countries had a MUN in the last 3 years per the research that has been done. So it's a big program. You can now expand your minds and project. Right now as I talk, some are happening in the UAE, some are happening in Africa, others are happening in Europe, the States. So when you merge it all, it is a program that we need to embrace as Rotaractors. It's a program that we need to embrace as interactors. And it's a program that we need to spearhead and, advocate for very many other peers of ours to adapt and use. And then institutions now, for us to drive the MUN program to reach very many people, to reach very many schools, to reach very many universities, it can be driven in form of a society. There are societies that are advocating for this, or it can be driven in form of conferences. For example, the Rotaract Global MUN umbrella, it holds and organizes conferences of Model United Nations programs. So conferences normally run for 2 to 4 days. For example, we've been here, but standard conferences run for 2 to 4 days, some 3 days, where they meet and we have committees, we have delegates, we have the opening ceremony, like we shall have one tomorrow, the closing ceremony, the socials, because young people always love fun. Besides the serious part of the agenda of debating, we make sure that we bring in that aspect of fun. Then there are those that run it as societies. Now societies go ahead and even train. They form MUN clubs and even train delegates, then later send them to conferences, or after they organize conferences where they can participate in. I believe you can now have a picture of what conferences are and what societies are in the field of MUN. Yeah, so conferences, because we're here for a conference, and it is the best way, it is the best measure and pillar on how we drive and expand the MUN programs. What are you required of as a Rotaractor? Because you might pick interest in organizing one. You might pick interest in expanding it to other European countries. So what are you required of if you are to take the lead in such an angle? One, for a conference to run, you need a few things. Rooms must be there, because delegates have to get space where they will execute their discussions and negotiations. So rooms must be there. It is not necessarily a hotel. You can even start from schools and universities, and then the international ones are always allocated or sent to the hotels. Then two, it needs chairs, the people that drive and guide the entire committee. Like I, for one, have traveled from East Africa to come and chair the United Nations Security Council. So chairs are looked for to drive the sessions. Then the organizing team, for example, the one we have tomorrow has been headed by Andrea here to see that all things merge up and all activities move on. So the organizing team is normally on ground where the MUN Summit is going to take place. So it is one of the requirements for us to push for a conference. Then the delegates. Now these are the people that make up the conference. Without the delegates, the conference can't happen. And these are Rotaractors that we, pass out the application or send out the application link. They apply and they register and, make it to the conference. Then the sponsors, the catering, the social events, and we even give certificates to add to your CV after participation. Yeah, you have a picture of the conference. Perfect. Being a delegate, for example, if you would love to start participating in these conferences, being a delegate, you are expected to do these things. 1, debating. 2, negotiating. 3, having fun. And 4, drafting of the documents. Because the intended reason as to why we meet is to discuss and debate on the preset topics and come up with resolutions that have solutions towards such topics. So you can't leave a conference without drafting the resolutions, because it is the final result that the committee is normally looking for in regards to the set topics. So those are the 4 pillars or 4 areas that you are expected to take part in any MUN conference across the globe. And being an organizer, there are different roles. You always active. So normally when we organize, get in touch with Tudro, get in touch with Andrea, so that you are given responsibilities and roles in being one of the organizers. It is fun. It shapes a lot of your skills. It helps you learn other skills that you can't be taught in schools and universities, and it is fun on the other hand. And then lastly, the benefits. Like, why would you have attention of participating in MUN? Why should it pique your mind to, organize a MUN conference? Why is it a program that matters in life? 1, it will shape your debating skills. I mean, the era has reached whereby if you can't express yourself, then the 21st century era can't be good for you to survive in. Whether you are an accountant, whether you are a lawyer, whether you are a doctor, you have to speak to patients, and that calls for confidence. You need to pinch your ideas if you are a business or entrepreneur-oriented student, to funders, to donors, and that calls for debates. So through MUNs, you get better skills in the workplace and in life in regards to debating. Then 2, socializing and networking. You meet people from different countries and from different backgrounds and of different professions, where you need to adapt and cope up with their personalities. You need to adapt and cope up with their differences in their cultures. And all that, by the end of the committee sessions, you end up with good social and networking skills. And these are friends that are going to be life friends for life. You're going to travel to Africa, but when you come to Africa, for example, to Uganda, I joyfully receive you because we've met, we connected during one of the MUN summits. I'm here because I met some of the Rotarians in Nepal, in Bali, Indonesia, in New York, that now connected me to this summit in Bayamale that I'm now going to chair. So the social skilling and networking is one of the productive green ticks that you acquire by participating in MUN. And then you expand your academia. Whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a doctor, whether you're pursuing to become an accountant, it helps you to expand your academia. Why? I'm a medic, for example. I'm a professional medical clinical officer, but then I'm going to chair, or I chair committees that are outside health. It means that within the MUN programs, it has expanded my knowledge, it has built my academic career to tap into various fields and to have knowledge in various areas that drive this world. And you too can gain such once you participate in such programs. Then you also get a chance of volunteering. You know, there is that joy that comes with impacting on some other people's lives. For example, the ongoing conflict, I mean, it doesn't need to take you a lot. Even speaking to the refugees, restoring their hope, I mean, talking to the children, the mothers that have fled their countries adds a lot. So through MUNs, because such topics are discussed about, we even go ahead and implement, and that helps you to get a chance of volunteering with international organizations, with various NGOs out there, because you become an icon of a global change maker, and in so, such opportunities are always availed to you to tap into. And then traveling. I personally love traveling. I don't know how about you people, but I personally love traveling. And I discovered that MUN is one of the availed platforms that can enable us travel with a purpose. Yes, you can make a world tour that is family-oriented, but there is a joy that comes with touring with a purpose, a diplomatic purpose. So through MUN, you can go to North America, you can go to South America with a purpose to represent your countries and discuss, and your voices reach the UN desk, the Rotary International Committee, and at the same time, do the fun part of it, visit the tourist centers in the country where the MUN has been held. At the same time, I appreciate the cultures, meet new people and all that. So traveling is in MUN, because every year there are hundreds that are happening. So those are some of the benefits of MUN. There are very many others that really come up in terms of your job, career. There are very many opportunities. You get to meet people that could connect you to certain person B, which certain person B knows person C that has your job opportunity that you might be looking for. So with that said, I believe you now have a picture of the benefits that come from participating in MUN. And I'll now entertain some questions in regards so far to the first item that we've gone through. Feel free to ask, feel free to comment. It might not be necessarily a question. I mean, feel free to raise anything that you feel like for the first session before we can maybe switch to the next item. Okay?
Don't be shy. Feel free to ask the questions.
Yeah, I need an interactive audience. I believe you have questions. I do believe you have questions, and I do believe you have comments. So please, we hear. It could go to me, it could go to Andrea, it could go to Tudro, the SG. I mean, feel free to ask anything. If not, me, I'll ask some questions to you. But it would be better if I get questions. On the other hand, it is always assumed that if there are no questions, then people have understood, right? That is one. Or they have not totally picked anything. So I don't know. Is everything okay?
Yes.
You don't have any questions? Okay, what are your opinions in regards to MUN? Let me use 1 minute. What do you see in terms of MUN in relating to your professions that you pursuing and your your academia part of it? I mean, in relating to what we've gone through, do you think it is a productive program? And if so, how and all that? Okay, let me start from the right. Please, in 1 minute.
Just a few words, what do you think about
Yeah,
it?
what do you think about it?
I think it's a very interesting opportunity for us. Honestly, I didn't know what we were going to do today, but I understand that it's something that is going to help me and it's very interesting.
Okay, thank you. Your friend?
I think it can help us to express easily and evolve. And
Okay, that's fine to have.
I think it's a very interesting opportunity, like you said. And I really think when I will grow up, then I will have this opportunity to travel with the MUN and
Okay, perfect. How?
I think it's an interesting program because like this you can meet new people and get new experience with others, with by different, I don't know, countries, or you can get.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I didn't know at first why it was Rotaract MUN, but I think it's a very big opportunity for young people. Like, I like to travel a lot, and I think it's a program that will maybe help me in the future.
Great, she loves traveling, and yeah, it is a platform built to enable you travel.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm not even a member yet in Rotaract, but I hope I will get in. And this is a really cool idea, and I hope I will be taking part.
Yeah, maybe it's not only limited to interactors.
The Interact clubs at this time they also have like the recruiting programs and they are getting new members. So they are somehow on their tribe right now. That's why she said she hopes she'll be an Interact member.
I hope I will be a member.
Okay.
If she gets voted in the club.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Yes.
I also believe that it's a wonderful event to organize and also to participate in. I think that the delegates are really lucky to get a chance to experiment how such a conference works and to get to be themselves a representative of the country. And I also hope that one day I will get to participate in a new UN.
Perfect. That would be great. Yes.
I think this conference can help you improve your debating skills and communication skills. And I like the fact that it can tap into the issues that the country may have. So I think it brings awareness to what is happening on an international level around us.
Great. Great. Yes.
I think you have heard enough opinions.
You might have a different opinion.
For me, the most attractive part to this event is that is the part with socializing. I have public speaking. No, thank you. Go on. Please.
Okay, let me hear from the gents. Was gender equality. The gents at the back.
Are you looking for my opinion?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I'm sorry, I just got my wisdom tooth out and it's a little foul, but the model UN, it sounds like an outstanding and amazing opportunity that we can participate, and it really, we have sort of like a speak in Romanian that you shoot 2 rabbits from one shot, and by checking the traveling part and meeting new people and knowing that you can have an impact in the things in your country or in other people's country being right, so that everybody can live in peace, it's wonderful. And I'm looking forward to participating in such conference, also with my colleague here and there, and I don't know, I think we're like the only one. We are looking forward into being accepted in a Rotary Interact Abstract Club.
Oh, perfect. That would be great. Anyone? The last one?
Thank you.
Okay, maybe the other delegates. Your opinion on what MUN benefits and how do you, what do you see? What comes to your mind when someone shares about MUN?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph B. Johnson. I'm from Liberia, West Africa. So this year I'll be a delegate for the Russian Federation. This is my second MUN experience, and you know, MUN comes with a lot of benefits, some direct, some indirect. Some of the things I have gotten from MUN has helped me to properly structure my idea in terms of presentation, and that I have used at school, at job, because you see, we live in a world where if you cannot communicate, it becomes a problem. You must be able to communicate. Firstly, sell yourself, sell your idea. If you have a good idea and it's in your head and you cannot speak it out, you know, someone tends to run with the idea. So MUN has helped me in that direction. It has given me the confidence to speak before my peers, before people who are, you know, way bigger than me. Like if I stand before maybe a parliament or a parliament member in Romanian parliament, I'm not frightened to speak. I will speak my mind freely because I know what's in my head. You know, another one has helped me is discipline, right? Because when you attend these conferences, it helps you build some level of discipline. Because you see, I'm representing Russian Federation, so the discipline is as a delegate. I'm not going to speak based on what I think I want to say. I speak from the perspective of the Russian Federation. So that level of discipline can also be applied to your businesses, to your work, to your school. So if the teacher tells you go and make a research on climate change, you don't go and make research on what you want. So you make a research on climate change. So that is the discipline part. It helps you to frame the idea in a set time frame, because during the conference we'll be speaking for a minute 30 seconds. So you must know what to say in that time, and you must communicate clearly and precisely. You know, it has helped me meet new friends, Ali, Andrea, Tudo, Radel, and we're having meaningful conversation. So it goes way beyond just the conference. If you are intentional and not just want to, the party is good, but as a delegate, that should not be the first thing. I mean, I would say that's the input of the program. So I think it's good. You can give it a try. It helps boost your self-confidence strongly. Yeah, so I would say that's some of my experiences that I've gotten from them. And I look forward to more this time around.
Okay, lastly from Tudro.
Yes. Tudor, quick, can I say something? Yes. Yeah. And you see, something that we take for a joke, you see cultural differences or language differences. You see, when you're a diplomat, it gives you that awareness that everybody don't speak good English. So if I'm having a conversation with a Romanian, I'm not concerned of how her T's, her R are twisted, or she's not concerned. So it helped me respect the other person's view despite the language deficiency.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Lastly, it will be from Tudro, his experience and comment on MUN as our SG, then we got the next item.
So, this will be my first time in the shoes of a General Secretary. I have 6 months that I've participated so far in. Yeah, 6 months, and for the last 3 years, I am one of 20 delegates in my organizations where I work, that I participate in COP meetings. So COP is a conference of parties that's being held by the United Nations, more specifically the United Nations Framework for Climate Change, UNFCCC. What we do there is basically we talk on, we debate different topics regarding climate issues, climate finance, and so on. And we go to the table with some members of the parties, and from there we said, okay, this is the youth voice, this is what we think needs to happen, and this is why we think that you should act. So this is basically what my experience with the UN has been in the last 7 years.
Okay, thank you, the SG. I believe that closes our first item and quickly switches us to the second item. After the second item, we shall have some break to interact. Then we come back and the closure shall be practical now, because you have the picture from the basics, and now the second item is going to show you how you get ready for a conference, and the third session will be practical. I'll allocate countries and we debate on some topic, 1 or 2, for 10 to 15 minutes to see the knowledge acquisition and skill acquisition. So for the second item, I'll use the handwritten presentation, and it's basically on how to get ready for a conference, because conferences are one of the tools we use for people to check people's skills in regards to what they have acquired, or in regards to the MUN sessions. And okay, is it better this side, right? Okay, so the first session was on basics, or the fundamentals. Okay, we're done with that. Second item is on how to get ready for a MUN what? For a MUN conference. For example, we have a conference tomorrow, but it's not, we just didn't wake up and we're here and we meant to execute the conference tomorrow. There is a lot of activities, there are a lot and series of our programs that we have been executing to see that by tomorrow the delegates are ready, the organizers are ready, the chairs are in place. So it calls for a lot that should be in place for this to be successful. Now, I'll divide this into the pre-conference activities, because there are things you are required of to do before the conference reaches, okay? And then the conference activities. conference activities. What do you do during the conference for it to be simulated, for it to be, to be impactful so that we come up with the best resolutions? Others even have the post-conference activities after any MUN session. So let me start with the pre-conference activities. Now for any MUN conference, organizers sit. You saw that there should be an organizing team in the basics. Now when they sit, for example, the Rotaract a team of Bayamale sat, and they are the organizers of this 10th edition. They felt and established the need for us to have this edition in Bayamare. They cited out the location, the city, and looked at the hotel that should host us, and all that happened in the pre-conference call them phases as well. So in the pre-conference, the organizers set up the organizing committee like they did. One, they also cite out the location. For example, the 11th edition could go to Denmark, it could go to Geneva, Switzerland. Then they also sit and get a hotel if we are to use a hotel. If you are to use a university, they liaise and secure it. That is all in the pre-conference activities. Then after everything is okay with the organizing team is there and the hotel has been secured. I mean, everything is established to see that we have that in place. Now, there are people, there are key personalities that play a very big role in the in the organizing of these conferences. So we come up with a secretariat. Now this secretariat, I will basically go to the academic part of it. So the academic secretariat. So in reality, the organizing committee will now open up applications for the head of the academic secretariat of the conference. And the head of the academic secretariat of the conference is the secretary general. So the head of the academic secretariat of any MUN conference is the secretary general. So applications for the secretary general opens up and people apply that have the qualifications. This time round, we are privileged that our secretary general is is to drop his qualifications and whatever he has. Then once this is ticked, now we call for chairs that will come up with committees, liaising with the organizing committee, and that will take lead of the academic activities of the committee sessions, okay? By committees, I mean we simulate or delegates are allocated in 2 agencies that make up the UN. So some delegates are put in WHO, that is World Health Organization Council. Other delegates can be put in UNESCO, it's also a UN council. Others can be put in the Security Council. Others can be put in the United Nations General Assembly Council. Others can be put in FAO, that is Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, because UN has very many agencies, and all agencies can be simulated by you assuming positions of the delegates, and you discuss on the most global pressing issues that affect the world. So chairs are called for and also selected, and once they are selected, the chairs come up with the committees in regards with the SCG connecting to the organizing committee. They also come up with the topics that the delegates will research about and discuss. And then after that, it goes to the delegates. So, Andrea opened up with his team the call for delegates. That's how he applied, and other delegates applied to see that, because these ones must complete the puzzle. Without the delegates, we can't have the conference. Without the chairs, we can't have the conference. Without the organizing committee, we don't have the conference. So these pillars work hand in hand to see that we can have the conference in place. So all these happen in the pre-conference phase. Then as delegates, what do we necessarily do to you? One, we send you a study guide. There's a document called a study guide that I'll give a hint on. Two, you also required to come up with a position paper. After receiving the study guide, I'll also give a hint about it. Other delegates go ahead and come up with a research binder. A research binder. This is not compulsory or mandatory, but some people feel free to have their information that they are going to discuss with them in form of a research a binder. So this happens before the conference. Now, a study guide is a formal document that is prepared by the chairs to give explanation about the preset topics that delegates are going to discuss about, as simple as that. For example, for the United Nations Security Council that I'm chairing tomorrow, the study guide I prepared has two topics. One, we are going to discuss and look for solutions to address the 2022-2023 Ukrainian refugee crisis as the first agenda. Then the second agenda is they are going to discuss and come up with resolutions to address the climate change, displacement, and disaster crisis. Because you know what happened in Syria and Turkey, the earthquakes. You know what has been happening in terms of the floods. That is all climate change. The heat waves, the wildfires in Australia. So these have displaced hundreds and thousands of people. And as young people, as Rotaractors, we want to look at the possible solutions, some that are innovative, some that are long-term, others could be intermediate, others could be short-term, that the UN could look into, and Rotary International for their implementation of various projects. So these are sent to you. Now I've explained this, and then you have to come up with a position paper. Now a position paper is a 1 to 2 pager document that a delegate comes up with in regards to his or her country that they have allocated him or her, reflecting on the topics or the agendas to be what? To be discussed. And then the research binder is just a collection of your research. It could be 5 pages, could be 10 pages, where you feel you've exhausted your what? Your topic. You research about the background of the country policies, the past UN actions about the topic. You brainstormed ideas on how you feel these topics can be addressed. All that can be in the research binder. So all this is done before the conference. So we send you the study guide, so we don't just ambush you to the committee that now start discussing about Russia-Ukraine crisis. No. You come in the committee when you know what the crisis is and you know the position of the country that you're going to represent in regards to the topic that is going to be discussed. And by that, you also come with a position paper that is 1 to 2 pages that has the la cream of the content in regards to your what? To the topics that are going to be discussed. Then other delegates, especially the beginner delegates, can come up with a research binder. It is just a collection of your research about the topic, so that every time you are speaking in the various phases of the committee, you have references, you quote your references and defend your points based on your research that is embedded in the research what? Binder. I believe that is fine for the part of the delegates. So once all those are in place, the delegates received their study guides, they have done their position papers and submitted them in. They have their research binders, chairs are there, the organizing committee is there. We're now ready to now simulate the what? The conference. So this leads me now directly to the what? To the conference, okay? Okay, now put your minds. This is a bit theory, but we're going to do it in practical for the last session. Now, take all your minds and drive them to the committee, assuming you are now in a UN committee. It could be United Nations Security Council. It could be United Nations Environmental Program Council. It could be UNICEF. It could be UNESCO. Assume you're in the committee, the chairs are in front, the SGs around, the media coverage is on. What are you required of? One, we have phases in which the committee runs through, and these are mandatory to know. One, we have session proceedings. Session proceedings. Okay? Now, session proceedings have these phases. We have the beginning phase, and then 2, we have the flow of debate, Then 3, we have document drafting. It is one of the pillar phases in a committee, document drafting. Okay? Then from document drafting, we have amendments, because we're going to amendments of some clauses, depending on how the committee is running, amendments. Then amendments lead us to voting, because we are in a diplomatic committee where consensus takes the lead. So voting is mandatory. We don't dictate that this should work. I mean, Russia should be sanctioned. No. Countries vote, and if blocks meet majority votes, then such clauses and resolutions pass. So after amendments, we go to voting. Voting of what? The draft what? Resolution, basically. Voting on the draft resolution. Once the draft resolution is voted on, we end the debate. Because if it passes, we then end the what? End the debate. So, fellow Rotaractors, fellow interactors, those are the core pillars of how a committee session runs. Once you have those at hand, and you know how to navigate through each phase, then you have the world in your hands. You can debate in any MUN summit. You can win any award globally, in any continent, and in any committee, once you know how to run through all these phases. Okay? So I'll quickly take you through what is in the beginning phase, the flow of debate, the document drafting, amendments, voting, and how do you end a debate, so that we now go into the break and come out and try it out on how it works. Now, in the beginning, for any conference, UN has councils, like I told you. and each council has a quorum, okay? So we're on the first item. A quorum is the total number of member states that make up a certain UN council or committee. You look at United Nations General Assembly, it has a quorum of around 193 member states. You look at the United Nations Security Council, it has a quorum of 15 member states. 5 permanent member states, that is Russian Federation, the US, France, China, and UK. And then the 10 that have elected every after 2 years. So what I mean with the quorum, because it's the first thing to note in the beginning phase, any committee to start, the quorum must be met. By a quorum, I mean the number of member states that make up a committee. I'll give an example of the one I'm going to chair tomorrow. It is made up, its quorum should be made up of 15 what? Member states. These are the member states that make up the United Nations Security Council. So before I begin the committee session, I must make sure that these 15 member states are around. And how do I do that? The quorum makes me to run what we call a roll call. Because I want to know whether the delegate of Russian Federation is around, the delegate of UK is around, the delegate of Switzerland is around, if I don't do a what? A roll call. So we take you through the roll call. Are we there? And with the roll call, it has 2 things to note, or the responses to note. Sorry. It has 2 things to note. One, you respond with present, or present and what? And voting. You've ever participated in one? No, I just read it. Oh, perfect. Present, present and voting. Those are the 2 responses that you use during the roll call. And then after the roll call, if the roll call is done, we set the agenda. We set the what? The agenda. Are we there? Agenda is set. If you have that booklet, you can open it so that I'm not talking to myself, so that you're following. So agendas are set if let's say the council has more than 2 what? More than 1 topic to discuss. For example, the UNSC Council has 2 topics to discuss upon, that is the refugee crisis and the climate change displacement crisis. So we need to set the agenda to decide on which topic to start with. That is what they mean by setting the what? The agenda. So the delegate of UK might be interested in the Russia-Ukraine what? Crisis. But then the delegate of Albania might be interested in starting with the climate change what? Crisis. So we go into diplomacy and set the agenda. If 2 delegates raise 2 different motions to set the agenda to topic A or to topic B, we even invite one to come and in 1 minute talk about why we should set it to topic A. Then we invite one to come and talk about why we should set it to topic B. Then after we go into the voting. And voting helps us now to set the agenda to either topic A or topic what? B. So it requires, you'll find these things alright. This motion requires a simple majority to pass. Now for the Security Council, simple majority requires us 9 votes to pass out of 15 for such a motion to pass, and we set an agenda on a certain topic. So this happens in the beginning phase. Is that clear? Any question? Because I want interactions. Anything you feel like you need to be highlighted on, because after here we are going to simulate, and I see how you respect the quorum, you respond to the roll call, how you set the agenda. So feel free to ask now before we reach the...
One question.
Yeah.
Regarding the roll call,
Yes.
you said there that you respond by present or present and voting.
Yes.
What is the difference of the countries that only said present? They are not going to vote in the council, or?
Yes. Thank you. It's a very productive question. One, you've seen two responses, present and voting. Now, when you state that you are present and voting, it means that when we reach, because this committee has what we call the procedural matters. Procedural what? Matters that require procedural votes. And the substantive matters. They also lead to substantive votes. For example, raising a motion to open the general speakers list. Okay? You're going to know about the general speakers list, the moderated caucus and unmoderated caucus. Raising a motion to open up the general speakers list is a procedural what? Matter. Are we there? Then, voting on a draft resolution is a substantive what? Matter. So if you state that you are present and voting, for procedural matters, you must vote. Are we there? You can't abstain on procedural matters. At the same time, on substantive matters, you also can't abstain from voting. You either vote for or against. That is if you stated that you are present and voting. In summary, if you stated present and voting, you vote on all matters, both procedural and substantive what? Matters. Are we there? But if you state that you are present, you vote on procedural matters, because for them they are mandatory. It is a must. No one can abstain from voting on procedural what? Matters. But when it comes to substantive matters, for example, voting on a draft resolution, you have the right to abstain because because your status is just present. Present and voting is a commitment that you must vote. You can't abstain. I don't know whether the point is home. Is the point home? Is it clear? Yes. Perfect. Yeah, so that is the first phase, okay, of the beginning phase. Quorum. Now a quorum requires us to have SGZ a quarter, a third of the committee.
For a quorum?
Yeah, a quarter.
So for a quorum, it needs to be 100% of the people. 100%.
For a committee to start, we make a roll call, and you must, all the delegates of different countries should be there for such a quorum to be established so that the committee sessions begin. And then the roll call, yes?
Yes, finish and then I'll...
Okay, so we do this or establish this through a roll call, okay? So a roll call, that's when I call and you respond with present or present and voting. Then after that, you set the agenda. Now in setting the agenda, it is set by a motion. So a delegate raises a motion to set the agenda. For example, honorable delegates, we are now done with the roll call. All the 15 member states are present, and we would favorably look into a motion to set the agenda. So in the audience, there will be a delegate of UK, delegate of Russian Federation, and all that. So the chair will guide you and will open up the floor for any points or motions. In this, the chair is looking for a motion to set the agenda. So a delegate in the audience will raise a placard. I don't know how you call it here in Romania. A table what?
You have a table tent in front of you with the country you represent.
Yeah, so in the MUN acronyms, we call it a placard. So when you raise your placard, I recognize your rising, and you stand up and you raise a motion to set the agenda to topic A or to topic B. Then we go into voting in case there are more than 2 motions, and then it passes on a simple majority. That is 9 votes for the Security Council out of 15. Is that clear for the first phase? Okay. We're going to try this practically, because without practicals, you can't really get it out. So the first beginning phase leads us to the flow of debate. This is done. Now, in the flow of debate, you're normally going to deal with 3 things. 1, the general speakers list. Okay. 2, the moderated caucus. Then 3, the unmoderated caucus. As simple as that. Those 3 caucuses, the general speakers list, the moderated caucus, and the unmoderated caucus, are going to make us flow through the debate. Now, what does the general speakers list mean? Now, the general speakers list is the section for formal debates. It's the one that opens up the flow for formal debates. We use such a session for delegates to come and speak about the country policies about the topic and the country policies in regards to their country that they are what? They are representing. And in this general speakers list, we normally give delegates one minute and a half, others even 2, because we set the speaking time for the general speakers list. What is unique about it is that during this session, delegates can yield their time. Okay? During the general speakers list, I've said it is the formal phase of debate, or it is the formal phase of the committee council, where the delegate of UK will come and speak about the Russia-Ukraine crisis in regards to its country policies and in regards to how it has been responding to the crisis. But in that phase, the delegate has the chance to use yielding points. We call them, yields. Now, you can yield your time or your remaining time because you come and speak. The flow is for 1 hour, for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Then you happen to speak for 1 minute and leave 30 seconds. Now, per the MUN programs and MUN procedures, you can yield the remaining time to questions. That is 1. You can yield the remaining time to the next delegate to use it. You can use the remaining time back to the chairs. So there are 3 ways we yield our remaining time during the general speakers list. 1, to questions from the other delegates. 2, to the chairs, if you don't want to be asked questions. 3, we can even yield it to someone to remind me. They were 3. 2, chair, I'm done. The next delegate. Thank you. Yeah, or next person. So those are the yields. But what you have to take in summary, it is the formal phase of debate of the council where you came, you're given maybe 1 minute and 30 seconds to speak about what your country has, or the stance or the position of your country in regards to the what? To the topic. And through the general speakers list, and it is the only phase where you can yield your remaining time. Are we there? So after the general speakers list, we have caucuses. And these caucuses are 2. We have the moderated caucus, from moderating, a caucus that is moderated, that is overseen, that is controlled by the chairs. And we also have the unmoderated caucus. Now that is the informal part of debate where we don't control you as chairs, but now you interact and start lobbying, and the delegation of USA is like, no, all NATO members come here, we need to deal with this conflict, we need to work hand in hand. So you get allies, and in that session, the chairs are not controlling it, but it is driven by the delegates themselves. Is that clear? So that is unmoderated what? Caucus. You can use it even for drafting papers, like the working paper that we shall hint on, the draft resolution during the unmoderated what? Caucus. And the unmoderated caucus, when you are to introduce it, you introduce it with a motion. Are we there? You can't just move into the unmoderated caucus. No. You raise your motion and introduce it. It is introduced by what? A motion from a delegate. And then the moderated caucus, this is a phase that is controlled by the chairs. A delegate raises a motion, for example, thank you, Honorable Chair, and the other delegates. I bring you greetings from Uganda, the President of Uganda, and it's an honor to be here. Honorable Chair, the delegate of Uganda would love to raise a 10 minutes moderated caucus on the effects of the Russia-Ukraine conflict on the food security. And the speaking time for each speaker is 1 minute. So a moderated caucus, first of all, you should state the speaking what? Time that you love as a delegate who is raising it, that you would love your other delegates to use while speaking. It could be 1 minute, it could be 1.5 minutes, and all that. Then 2, you should also specify the duration that caucus should take. How do you want us, for how long do you want us to be in the moderated caucus? Is it for 10 minutes? Is it for 15 minutes? So you state and tag the time duration, and you also state and tag the speaking time that each delegate is going to take while speaking in the moderated caucus. To differentiate it from the unmoderated, now the unmoderated, you only state the duration. Are we there? You only state the duration that, the caucus shall take. It could be 10 minutes unmoderated caucus or 15 minutes unmoderated what? Caucus. But you don't specify because you're going to interact freely without being timed and all that. So that is the unmoderated what? Caucus. Secondly, to differentiate between the two, in the unmoderated caucus, you don't state the reason why you're calling for the unmoderated caucus. Are we there? But for the moderated caucus, you have to state the topic. Now, why are you calling for the moderated caucus? I'm calling for the moderated caucus for us to discuss the human rights violation that have arisen from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. For how long do you need us to discuss that? For 10 minutes. And for how long specifically should each delegate speak on such a topic? Maybe for 1 minute. So that is a standardized moderated caucus motion. Do you differentiate now that too? Yes? Do you differentiate that too? Okay. General speakers list, moderated caucus, unmoderated caucus. Help us to flow through the debate. General speakers list is different, like I've showed you. Moderated caucus is a different session, like I've explained, and the unmoderated caucus. We move through the entire day, like tomorrow we're going to be in the general speakers list, then another delegate will lead us to the unmoderated, the other one will bring us to the moderated, another one, like it is going to be a mixture of general speakers list, moderated caucus, unmoderated caucus, until we come up with the resolutions from the committee. And from that, we go to document drafting. The debate has been good in the general speakers list, the unmoderated caucus, the moderated caucus. Now we go to document drafting. In document drafting, there are mainly two documents we deal with. One is the working paper. Are we there? Then two is the draft what? Resolution. Working paper is simple. The working paper is an informal document where delegates merge up and put all their suggestive solutions together that they have yielded from the various caucuses. It could be the general speakers list, the moderated caucus, and the unmoderated caucus. So you sit and you put together the various solutions from the delegate of UK, from the delegate of Russia, from the delegate of Mozambique, from the delegate of Switzerland, on how they think we could address the set topics that have been discussed through all these sessions. So what you need to note is it is an informal document, and it doesn't have any format. You just have to write down your various solutions, and it is only named. It can be working paper 1.1, okay? Working paper 1.1, meaning that it is the first working paper of the first topic. Then it can also be working paper 1.2, so it can be the second working paper of the first topic. So the first number or digit represents the topic, the second number represents the number of working papers. Hope you understand me. Then the working paper gives rise or gives birth to the draft resolution. So the draft resolution is drawn from the working paper. And this one is formal. It's a formal document that represents whatever efforts you've put in to discuss, negotiate, brainstorm, innovate the solutions in regards to the discussed topics. And this draft resolution has a lot on it. One, it has sections. It should have the name of the committee. It should have the signatories. We shall look into all that. But we are here to give you at least the overview or the picture of what happens. It should have the sponsors section, who are sponsoring those resolutions, who are agreeing with those resolutions. Those are the signatories. It also has phases. We have the preambulatory clauses. Okay. It also has the operative clauses. Operative what? Clauses. So it has a certain format to those that have these guides. I think you can look at that format of how a draft resolution looks like. And then the preambulatory clauses also have how they end. Do you end them with commas, with semicolons? The same to the operative. Do they end with commas or semicolons? So it is a formal document basically that represents the ideas and solutions and innovations that the delegates have come up with during the course of the debates through the phases of the general speakers list, the moderated caucus, the unmoderated caucus. And after coming up with it, it is voted upon for it to pass. Are we there? By the delegates that are in the committee. And once it is voted upon, voting is also introduced by a motion and it passes, then we end up with a final resolution that has passed. Maybe the resolution, for example, the resolution that passed in 2022 after the Russia-Ukraine war started, had resolutions: 1, to put sanctions on Russia; 2, to open up borders for refugees to come. That's why they're in Poland, they're in Romania, and very many other European countries. 4, it called for aid from international community to support the humanitarian crisis and all that. So those were things that were agreed on during the General Assembly, and they passed through a resolution. And after the resolution is passed, delegates smile, some throw away the placards, some stand up, others throw away the coats, because we are done with what has brought us in the conference, and we look towards ending the debate, a motion to end the debate, and then we have fun and go and do our other things. So that is how basically the committee runs. Okay? I won't repeat anything. I think we can now go into the break. Once we come back from the break, we are just going to test. I'm going to allocate to you countries, give you topics. You don't need to have knowledge on them. We just want to see how you work on the rules of procedures, how you respond to the roll call, how we can set the agenda and vote on the agenda if it's so, how you can raise a motion to open the general speakers list, how you're going to raise the motion to move us into the moderated caucus, and how you're going to raise the motion to move us in the unmoderated caucus, to check out and see whether you've picked out something practically. So with that said, I beg to first add Janet at that. And yeah, we left for the break. Welcome back from the break, when we had gone through the series of sessions that are involved in the committee activities, where we emphasized the beginning phase, in which beginning phase we establish the quorum or set the quorum or respect the quorum of the committee. You now know what that means. It is established. We go into the roll call, where you have to respond with present or present and voting. I believe you now know the two, how to use them and why. Then setting the agenda, which I emphasized that it is set by raising a motion, which motion requires a simple majority. And maybe to clarify more, a simple majority is 50% plus 1 for any committee. You get it? If it is a committee of 30 member states, to have a simple majority, it is 50% of 30, which is 15 plus 1, making it 16. Are we there? If it is a committee of 50 people, it is 50%. Are we there? Of 50, which is 25 plus what? Plus 1. That makes it the simple majority. And yeah, for the setting of the agenda, it requires a simple majority. There are motions that require 2/3 majority to pass. For example, voting on the draft resolution, it requires 2/3 majority of the committee for it to pass. But because of time, we won't go into all the motions and all that. Maybe the other thing is the points before we go into the practical part. and receive your questions. There are points you use, like point of order, okay? Point of parliamentary inquiry, point of personal privilege. Those are the three major points you use to be able to be responded to by the chair. For example, if you want to use the washrooms during the committee session, you don't just move out. I mean, this is a diplomatic debate. This is a diplomatic forum. So you raise a point of personal privilege that should be seen and authorized by the chair. You raise your reason as to why, and then the chair authorizes you to go and use the what? The washrooms. If you are sitting at the back and maybe you're not hearing another delegate, you can raise a point of personal privilege. If the windows are closed and you feel it is hot in the room and it is making you uncomfortable, you raise a point of personal what? Privilege. And the chair will respond to that, and it will make things easier for you in regards to your discomfort. Then point of parliamentary inquiry. It is so used to make or to have clarity on the rules of procedures. You might raise a point of parliamentary inquiry, first of all, to know what the general speakers list is, because we have beginner delegates, intermediate delegates, advanced delegates. So you could be in a committee room, maybe you've gone to New York City for the future we want, and you're not sure of which session they are in, whether they are in the general speakers list session or phase or the moderated caucus. So you don't die alone. No, you raise a point of parliamentary inquiry, and the chairs will recognize it, and they will guide you accordingly and in regards to the point of parliamentary inquiry. And then point of order, which is the third one. Now, point of order is used, for example, if there is violation of your sovereignty of your country, or if a certain delegate makes a false statement on your country, you raise a point of order to clarify it, and or to ask the delegate to clarify it, or to defend out or unmask such a statement from your country if it is not right and backed up by statistics from references that are credible, like CNN, BBC, New York Times, and all those other international news sources. So those are very important points that you must have on your fingertips to drive really through the committee. So you don't just move out, you don't just complain, no, this one, this delegate has violated, Russia is not a terrorist state and all that. No, you don't just complain, you raise a point of order and let the committee listen to your issue that you are raising in regards to your country. So those are the three points that I could add towards these proceedings. Now let me receive questions in regards to this, so that we simulate a bit of the practical and see how you can, we can go through the roll call, how you can set the agenda, and then discuss on either a certain topic and see how you move to the general speakers list. You switch to the moderated caucus, and I think that could be good to assess what we have so far learned. So any questions in regards to this? Yes.
I have a question regarding moderated versus unmoderated caucuses.
Yes.
So the main advantage of an unmoderated caucus, if I got it correctly, would be that there is no time limit to each speaker, right?
Okay. Okay, for unmoderated caucus, you are not controlled by the chairs. Okay. You move freely in the room, interact with your fellow delegates. You use it to lobby, form blocks, maybe Team Russia, Team USA, for example, for such a topic. You talk to your allies, so you're not controlled on maybe speak for 1 minute or speak for 1 minute and 30 seconds. No, it is that uncontrolled phase of debate where you freely interact and make allies and lobby and even draft some papers during such sessions.
But I
But it has a specific, when you raise it, you must specify the duration it should take. It could be 15 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, unmoderated caucus, though you don't specify that the speaker should speak, each speaker should speak for 1 minute like it happens for the moderated caucus. Is that clear for everyone? So when you're raising unmoderated caucus, you just raise and specify the duration of time you feel it should take. It could be 10 minutes unmoderated caucus, it could be 15 minutes unmoderated caucus, or it could be a 20 minutes unmoderated caucus. Are we there? For the moderated, you must specify the time. It could be a 10 minutes moderated caucus, and you also have to specify the reason for the moderated caucus, maybe to discuss on this, and then you have also to specify the speaking time you would love each delegate to take in discussing or in reacting or in giving their opinions in regards to the raised motion. It could be 1 minute, it could be 30 seconds, others can be 30 seconds, it could be 1 minute and 30 seconds. That is the moderated caucus. Is that okay? Then general speakers list. Now in moderated caucus, you don't yield your time. No, it doesn't happen there. Even, of course, in the unmoderated, it is informal, so it also doesn't happen there. The yielding of time to questions, to the chair, and to the next delegate only happens during the general speakers list session. Okay, any other question before we begin? Yes?
When you make the roll call, I didn't really understand which states are present and which ones are present and voting.
When you make the roll call, okay, you can repeat your question. I didn't get it.
Yeah, how do I know if I say present or present and voting?
Oh.
Who gets the roles? I think that's what she means.
You have to choose.
Yes.
You have to
Now,
choose if you want to vote or not.
Okay.
Yeah, so
You have to answer that question.
yeah.
If you're choosing to stay present and voting, then you must vote.
Okay.
Yeah, so it goes back to you as a delegate, especially if the time reaches for the substantive matters of maybe voting on a draft resolution. Would you now love to have the freedom to abstain? If so, then choose present. But if you would love to even vote on the draft resolution as mandatory, then you choose present and voting. So present gives you the freedom to abstain or to vote for or against. You get it? During the substantive matters. While present and voting makes it mandatory. You can't abstain if your status was present and voting during the roll call. You can't abstain from voting. It is a must. You have to vote. Is that clear? Perfect. You had a question?
Regarding the working paper, you said that it contains all the solutions the delegates put on the table. But what about the drafting resolution? How do you take the solutions to the drafting resolution?
Okay.
From the working paper.
Okay. Now the working paper has suggested and discussed and debated points or ideas or solutions in regards to the topic discussed. And those solutions act or work as the operative clauses on a draft resolution. Now, I told you that the draft resolution has sections and it has clauses. For example, I mentioned of the pre-ambulatory what? Clauses, and then 2, the operative. Now, from his question, operative clauses. From his question, what is involved in the working paper is directly transferred to work as the operative what? Clauses, but well formatted per the guidelines of the draft what? Resolution. Because the preambulatory clauses are normally past UN resolutions, past UN committee resolutions on that topic. and we normally give you guidelines and has the phrases you use to write the preambulatory clauses and the operative clauses. So his question makes you understand that whatever comes from the working paper doesn't necessarily go and is put as in the draft resolution. It is basically used to come up with the operative clauses part of the draft resolution. Because for the preambulatory clauses, we go and make search of the past resolutions. Has UN done something before on this topic? And what was that? Did it make some recommendations? And it can also be, I'm forgetting it. It goes beyond just the past UN resolutions or recommendations on the topic, and it also goes to the awareness, how you are aware, how you are fully aware about the effects of the topic that you are discussing to the communities and the parties that are involved in such a topic or a challenge that is being discussed. So I don't know whether I've tried to clarify. The answer in summary is the working paper yields us to come up with the operative clauses, okay? Then the preambulatory clauses, we normally look at the past recommendations or the past actions the committee has done in regards to the to the topic. So merging the two, you have the past and now yours that are fresh, that have been innovated, that have been brainstormed during the courses of the general speakers list, the moderated caucus, and the unmoderated caucus. Yes?
Can you please briefly explain the amendments?
Amendments? Okay. Yeah, there is this section of amendments. Now, amendments in MUN, there are two types of amendments. We have the friendly amendments and the unfriendly amendments. And by the way, amendments is one of the core part of the committee. Now, amendments once you hear amendments, it means that there is a draft resolution in place. That is a must. A draft resolution should be in place to start speaking about amendments. Because what are you going to amend if you don't have a draft resolution in place? And there are two types of amendments. We have the friendly amendments and then the unfriendly. Are we there? Friendly amendments and the unfriendly amendments. And for the friendly amendments, in a summarized way, a resolution has the section of sponsors and signatories. Okay. Now, sponsors, some conferences limit it to 1, other conferences limit it to 2, others limit it to maximum of 3. Okay? Then these signatories can be as many as possible. They can be, now since, for example, the Security Council, they can be like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, sponsors are the owners, or they are the leading delegates that have been, that took the lead in drafting of this resolution, and at the same time, in the reality part of it, they are the countries that basically take the lead in funding of the solutions that have been resolved upon in the draft resolution. Because there could be a solution where we need to maybe avail humanitarian aid of maybe $2 billion US. So that stands so much, and it goes so much to the sponsors to see that such a resolution is implemented and effected. At the same time, they are the lead now in the MUN angles and MUN atmosphere. You take the lead in drafting. You are the owners of the draft resolution, on the other hand. You get it? All the ideas, over 90% of the solutions and the ideas in the draft resolutions are managed and are led by the sponsors. So for friendly amendments, these are amendments where all the sponsors of the draft resolutions come to an agreement and feel like, okay, instead of, let's say you had a resolution within your operative, let's say you had a clause on the operative phases that says that in order to, as a factor and measure to address the Russia-Ukraine crisis, let us impose sanctions on Russia in terms of its imports to Europe and all that. Then you agree later and realize that maybe such a resolution might not work out, and you feel like you want to modify it or delete it, because amendments can be through deletion, can be through modification, whereby you're not entirely removing it or striking it, but you are trying to modify it to suit it to be a very productive resolution. So if all the sponsors agree that, okay, let us delete this clause, then that becomes a friendly what? Amendment. It is an amendment where all the sponsors of the draft resolution are in agreement to change it, to modify it, to delete it. You get my point? And once it is submitted, it is automatically effected to that draft resolution by either deleting it or modifying it, or deleting it or striking it or modifying it. Is that clear? Then the unfriendly, this is where someone, maybe one of someone in the member states realizes that there is a certain clause that needs to be, he's not, as a delegate, is not in agreement with it and feels that it should be changed. But among the sponsors, there are some that are agreeing with him, maybe two, and the third sponsor is not in agreement with it. You get my point? So this becomes unfriendly amendment because not all the sponsors of the draft resolution are in agreement. And it calls for voting. It calls for voting for consensus to see who are those member states that are in agreement to delete, because not all the sponsors are in agreement with it. So the chair makes it possible for it to go into voting, the voting procedure, to see whether it can be adopted or not, depending on the, in fact, for it requires 2/3 majority to pass. Those amendments normally require 2/3 what? Majority of the committee to pass. When they hit the 2/3 majority of the Security Council, let's say, such amendments pass as unfriendly what? Amendments. If they don't meet the 2/3 majority, they fail, and therefore it won't be changed. Is that clear for everyone? Have I given you just a picture? Yeah. I think we're good to do a sample. Is there any other question? Yes, I would love to hear from him.
So the 2/3 imply only those who vote. So they don't consider those who abstain.
Oh, which one?
So the 2/3 apply only for those who vote, not to those who abstain. So 2/3 of the voting.
Oh, yeah. Since amendments, actual amendments, thank you, it's a very good question. Amendments fall under the voting on amendments fall under the substantive what? Votes or matters, where those that stated that were present can abstain, okay, if they decide to do so, while those that stated that were present and voting, they have to automatically what? Vote. Take an example. If you are chairing like a Security Council that has 15, okay? Now, two-thirds majority is 11 member states. Are we there? So in voting, remember there are 15. You might find that 11 have voted for the amendment, for the unfriendly amendment. Then the 11 have voted for. Then 2 or 3, okay, let me say 3 have voted against. Then 1 has abstained. So this unfriendly amendment passes because it meets the 2/3 of the 2/3 of the committee in terms of support for it to pass. Is that clear for you? So we base on who has abstained, who has voted for, and who has voted against. Let's say there are 15 and 8 have voted for. Are we there? Now around 4 have voted against. That is 8 plus 4, you get 12. And 3 have abstained. Are we there? 8 doesn't meet the 2/3 what? Majority. So that fails to pass.
So that means that a simple majority takes all of them.
Simple majority?
Even those who abstain.
Simple majority is 50%.
Yes, so, but in case of simple majority, they take also the abstains. So,
Am I?
The simple majority is only for the quorum.
For the quorum. They are okay. Okay, we have simple majority aligns to certain procedures, and even 2/3 majority aligned to certain procedures. For example, draft resolution, voting on it and amendments, it is 2/3 what? Majority. Then when you go to raising motions for moderated caucus, that is simple majority. Setting the agenda, that is simple majority. Motion for unmoderated caucus, that is also simple what? Majority. So there is where simple majority works and there is where 2/3 majority what? Works. And all those are in that booklet that they gave you for the rules of procedures. So I would further advise you go through each to know where to use the simple majority or where the simple majority applies and where the 2/3 majority applies during the rules of procedures.
I think he's asking if you include in the simple majority also the members that are abstaining to vote.
The simple majority is from
all the members that are saying present and voting
Yes.
are taken into account for the calculation of a simple majority.
all the states. are taken in account.
Or just the people who say present and voting? All the people who say also present, or only the ones that say present and voting? If this makes sense.
I don't know. Have you picked it?
Yeah. The
Okay.
simple majority is from all the delegates.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if I'm saying present,
Present
and
or
voting
present.
or present. Okay. It's from all of them.
Yeah. I've also clicked your question. Simple majority applies to all delegates, whether you stated present or present and voting. Like we divide half of the committee in 50% and add +1 for the simple majority quorum. Is that what he wanted?
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
And also for the 2/3 majority,
Yes.
from all the
All the delegates. We calculate it from all the delegates. Yeah. We're good to go, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, practical. We're going for the practical session. And, okay. One, we're going to, the topics are going to be we're going to discuss the Russia-Ukraine conflict, okay? And then the climate change displacement crisis. Those are the two topics. I hope you've noted them. And I want to allocate to you countries. If I give you a country, make sure you note it, because from the time you have it, you'll be the delegate of that country. So how many are you? Do you make 15? Help me count. Yes, true. Perfect, yeah. So they are going to give you papers where you're gonna write your country that you're going to represent. Is everyone with a paper? Right? So they are going to act as our placards. Yeah, fold them like hers. Oh, you 14? Joseph, also get, I need to have 15 member states. They can give you
Do you have an extra paper? You have 15?
they make 15? Oh, they're 15, right?
15.
I'd not counted him. Okay. Okay, I'm now going to give you country allocations. Now, we're going to simulate the United Nations Security Council. And the United Nations Security Council is responsible for, one, maintaining and responding to threats of global security, and it also helps us in resolving conflicts that arise from the various corners of the world. They are now involved in very many. You hear of what is taking place in Sudan. They are there and they are trying to see what to do in regards to ending such a conflict. They have been a key pillar in regards to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Afghanistan, the Syria, and all those other conflicts that have been happening. So it is a very important and mandatory body in the UN structure, but responsible for global peace, maintaining global peace and security at large. So that is the committee we're going to simulate. And the two topics we are going to simulate are, one, the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Okay, we want to see how best that conflict can be resolved and, ended, because it is affecting very many hundreds and thousands of people out there. It has yielded one of the largest refugee crises since the end of World War II. It has yielded one of the most demanding humanitarian crises ever in Europe, in history. It has made children, mothers, and very many people to flee their country seeking for help in neighboring countries. So in such, it is a demanding topic to look at, and as Rotaractors, to see that we come up with resolutions on how best we think such a conflict can be resolved. So in that, since there are 15 member states, I'll go in order, allocating one by one. And once I allocate it for you, you can even write using a pen on it so that it helps me in picking you up during the procedures of the committee. So starting with her, you'll be the delegate of China. And your other friend next to you will be the delegate of France. You'll be the delegate of Russian Federation. The delegate of UK. Sorry? Yeah, UK. US. Albania. You'll be the delegate of Brazil. Delegate of Ecuador. Delegate of Gabon. Delegate of Ghana. You're the delegate of Japan. The one next to you will be the delegate of Malta. Malta, M-A-L-T-A. Yeah, Malta. Then the delegate of Mozambique. The delegate of Switzerland. The delegate of United Arab Emirates. Okay. We're good to go. I'm assuming you received your study guides, you drafted your position papers. So put yourselves, have that mindset that you did the A to Z of everything. And yeah, you're now here and you're going to represent your countries. Okay. Honorable delegates, you're highly welcome for the Rotaract Global MUN Conference 2023 Baia Marie edition. It's always a honor to have you here. You've traveled all the way from France, from China, from US, from UK, from Ghana. That's very great to see that you have impactful resolutions drawn in regards to the topics that we sent to you, and we are looking forward to see that we come up with solutions in regards to their being addressed. Waiswa Ali, I'll be proudly your chair for this council. Feel free to express your views. Feel free to make mistakes. It's a learning session. And feel free to express yourself with your various peer delegates to see that at the end of these sessions, we have the best resolutions out of our discussions. And straight away, we shall start by the roll call. And if I mention your delegation, you raise up your placard and respond by present or present and voting. Okay? Yes, so let us start. Delegate of China. Present. Delegate of France. Present. Delegate of Russia Federation. Present. The delegate of UK. Present. Delegate of USA. Present and vote. Can I say that? Yes. Delegate of Albania. Delegate of Brazil.
Present and voting.
The delegate of Ecuador.
Present and voting.
The delegate of Gabon.
Present and voting.
The delegate of Ghana.
Present and voting.
The delegate of Japan. Sorry. The delegate of Malta. The delegate of Mozambique. The delegate of Switzerland. The delegate of UAE. Okay, honorable delegates, the committee meets the quorum of 100%. All the 15 member states are around. And those that stated that they are present, when we reach on the issues of voting on the substantive matters, you have the right to abstain or to vote for or vote against the issue that is being voted on. Then those that have stated present and voting, you'll be mandated, or it will be mandatory for you to vote on all procedural matters and substantive matters. Okay? Yes. So this council is going to discuss the two topics that we sent to you in our study guides, and that was the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which was topic A, and then topic B was the climate change displacement crisis. Okay? So honorable delegates, the floor is now open for any points or motions on the floor. Are there any points or motions on the floor? Okay, now when we reach such a session, we are done with the roll call. The quorum is okay, okay. Now we need to switch to the formal debate, okay? The formal debate. And formal debate is switched to by raising a motion to open the general speakers what? List. So the delegate of China or the delegate of France or the delegate of US is free to raise a motion to to set the agenda, because we have two topics to discuss upon, okay? So the motion to set the agenda is favorably looked at to be raised, so that after setting the agenda, we open the general speakers list. Is that okay? So anyone to try, feel free to make the mistakes. So honorable delegates, the floor is open for points or motions. Are there any points or motions on the floor? Yes, the delegate of, you raise your, perfect. Yes, the delegate of Ecuador.
Yes, as you well know, Ecuador is the world's largest banana exporter, and due to the introductions of and sanctions of transport over its invasion of Ukraine in Russia, Ecuador has lost more than $700 million this year.
Okay, thank you.
So, maybe I should propose. I didn't say anything.
Okay.
Yes. So the motion I'm proposing is maybe trying and
okay, let me come in, right? Thank you for your submission. Now, after the quorum, okay, you are 15 member states. Our simple majority shall be 9 votes, because it is half, okay? It is always 50% plus 1. So since they are 15, 50% is 7.5, and when you round that off, that is 8 plus 1 for things to pass on a simple majority, okay? Then for 2/3 majority, it would be 11, okay? So now, before we go into the debate, the real debate on the general speakers list, you had 2 topics in the study guide. So we need to know which one to start with.
I should mention which topic I'm...
Exactly. So you raise a motion to set the agenda on either topic A, which is the Russia-Ukraine conflict, or topic B, which is the climate change displacement crisis. Perfect. Can you try now? You first thank the chairs. Yes. You thank the chairs. You thank the honorable delegates.
I shouldn't use I should use Ecuador wants to...
Exactly.
Okay.
Should I try it out for you first?
Let me try first, then you make my... Okay. So, Ecuador is willing to approach the subject of the Russian invasion in Ukraine regarding the topic of its significant loss of funds.
Okay. She has tried. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, the delegate of Ecuador. Any other delegate that wants to try to raise a motion to help us set the agenda to either topic A or topic B? Yes, the delegate of Brazil.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Hello, Honorable Delegates. I would like to set a motion to talk about climate change.
Climate change. Yeah, thank you, the delegate of Brazil. Honorable delegates, that motion is in order from the delegate of Brazil, and the motion was to set the topic, to set the agenda to topic B, which is climate change crisis. Are there delegates that second that motion? And if so, raise up your placards. Delegates that second the motion from the delegate of Brazil for us to set the agenda to topic B, which is climate change displacement crisis, please raise up your placards. Okay, those that are against, objections? Seeing that this motion has objections and seconds, we shall take it to the voting procedure. And those that are in favor that we adopt topic B, you're going to raise up your placards, and it requires a simple majority to pass. Then those that are not in favor for us to start with topic B as the agenda, the first topic on the agenda, you also raise up your placards. So honorable delegates, we are now in the voting procedure. Delegates voting for topic B to be set as our first topic for the agenda, please raise up your placards. Okay, those are voting against topic B to be our first topic on the agenda. Raise up your placards. Okay. Having noted that there are 3 delegates that have voted yes for this motion and 13 against this motion fails, so it doesn't pass for it to be adopted. So I still open up the floor for any other motions on the floor. Are there any other motions on the floor? Now, look, the other motion has failed, okay? It means that the majority are in favor of topic what? Topic A to be adopted. So now, one of you could raise a motion, are you there? To set the agenda to topic A, which is going to automatically pass because once we go into voting, you have the majority. So let me hear and have that motion. Though on the other side, the chair can use the discretion powers, and now topic A automatically passes to be adopted as the first topic, since topic B had only 3 votes in favor. Is that okay? But I wanted to get it in a motion way. So are there any motions on the floor? I need one to raise it and set it to topic A. Yes, the delegate of Gabon.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Gabon proposes a motion to set the agenda to topic A.
Okay, that motion is in order. Delegates, are there any objections on the topic? If there are any objections, please raise up your placard. Are there any seconds on the topic? Those seconding the topic, please, because you on the first topic, you voted against, meaning that for this I expect very many placards raised. You get the point? Okay, those that second this motion to pass, please raise up your placards. Raise your placards high. Okay, since there were no objections on this topic, this motion automatically passes, and therefore we shall discuss the Russia-Ukraine crisis as our first topic, okay? And then we shall later discuss the climate change displacement as the second topic. So the agenda has been set to topic what? A. Are we there now? So that's how they set the agenda, okay? Perfect. Now, once the agenda is set, we open the general speakers what? List. So those with those books, booklets, I am now going to favorably look for a motion to open up the general speakers what? List. Are we there? Perfect. So prepare always to raise that and we see how it works. So our topic is going to be addressing the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Ukraine conflict. Okay, that is the set agenda. And from the chair's discretion, our speaking time shall be 1 minute and 30 seconds for the general speakers list. Though in other conferences, they normally set the speaking time, but we want to go through this quickly. And now, the floor is now open again for any points or motions on the floor. Honorable delegates, are there any points or motions on the floor? Are there any points or motions on the floor? So if you are not now understanding anything, you can use the point of parliamentary inquiry. You get it? If you want to ask anything. You can use the point of personal privilege if you are not comfortable. You can also use the point of what? There were three. Someone to remind me. I gave them to you. Point of parliamentary inquiry, point of personal privilege, and point of what? Point of order. Okay? So let me see, let me have a delegate raise a motion to open up the general speakers list. Any delegate to try it out? The floor is now open for any motions and points. Yeah, it is a tasking moment because they are practicals, okay? It's understandable, but feel free to make mistakes, and that's how we learn. So are there any points or motions on the floor? Yes, the delegate of United Arab Emirates.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The United Arab Emirates has seen that the destruction of the Nova Kakhovka dam in Ukraine has produced some substantial damage to the zone, to that area of Ukraine. And since it's not in the interest of Ukraine to destroy that dam, since that will stop the advance, we want to propose a motion that the Russian Federation shall be that the Russian Federation shall not attack any other dams or hydroelectric power plants on the Dnieper River.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Delegate. Your submission is right, but the chair was favorably looking for a motion to open up the general speakers list. Okay? Because after opening up the general speakers list, that's when you will have now the opportunity to give the speeches like the one you have been giving. So can you now raise for us the motion to open up the general speakers list, the delegate of UAE? Yes, the delegate of UAE.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I want to raise a motion to open up the agenda. The
general speakers list.
Yes.
Repeat.
I want to propose a motion to open the
general speakers list. Yes, that motion is in order. Delegates, the delegate of United Arab Emirates has raised the motion to open the general speakers list, okay? This motion requires simple majority to pass. So delegates that are in favor of that motion, please raise up your placards. So this motion automatically passes. So we are now, the general speakers list is open. The delegate of UAE, would you love to be added on the general speakers list first? Okay. So our first speaker will be the delegate of UAE. So delegates wishing to be added on the general speakers list, please raise up your placards. Delegates wishing to be added on the general speakers list, please raise up your placards. Now, in this point in time, we want to get delegates that are going to give opening speeches in regards to the country they are representing in reflection to the topic. So this is where now China will rise, and I add Russia, France, UK, Brazil, and then I start now calling one by one on the floor to start giving their opening speeches in regards to the topic. Okay? Now, so we have the United Arab Emirates as our first delegate. Other delegates willing to be added on the general speakers list, please rise up your placards. Delegate of Ecuador. Okay, first give me, you maintain your placards up, okay? As I type, you maintain your placards up, okay? So Ecuador will be the second speaker, Switzerland. Brazil, delegate of Brazil. Yes, any other delegate willing to be added on the general speakers list? Delegate of Ghana. Yes. Lastly, any other delegate? Okay, so we have 5 delegates on the general speakers list. We shall start with the delegate of United Arab Emirates. The floor is yours for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable delegates, the United Arab Emirates wants to propose a motion for that to stop any attacks on dams or hydroelectric power plants on the territory of Ukraine, from both sides.
Okay, now delegate, at this point in time, what you do, you're now going to give your opening speech. You're not going to raise a motion. We've set the general speakers list, and I explained what happens in the general speakers list. This is the formal part of debate where you come and talk about the views of your country in relationship to the topic that is being what? Discussed. Is that clear? So this is where you come as a delegate and stand and thank the chairs, acknowledge the other delegates, bring or send your regards from your country, maybe the president of UAE, and now give your speech in regards to UAE's position to the topic that is being discussed. Is that clear? So we've successfully done the roll call. We've successfully set the agenda. We've successfully opened up the general speakers list. And now, the time is now for you to start giving your opening what? Speeches for 1 minute and 30 what? Seconds. Okay? So UAE, the floor is yours.
So, one question.
Yeah.
So, first I have to say my speech about the Russian-Ukrainian war.
Exactly.
And then pass, and then propose the motion.
No, you just give your speech. When the time for motions reach, you hear the chair saying, the floor is now open for points and motions. That's when you raise a motion. If you don't hear that, then you have to align to what is going on in the committee. Or you raise a point of parliamentary inquiry when you are confused to be guided by the chair. Is that okay?
I give my opening speech.
Yes?
Then the floor is open for points and motions.
No. Okay, I opened up the floor for motions and points, okay? You raised the motion to open the general speakers list, which motion passed. Then the chair asked for delegates wishing to be added to the general speakers what? List, which you well responded to, and I added UAE, Ecuador, Switzerland, Brazil, China, meaning that these delegates that have been added to the general speakers list are expected now to give their opening speeches to other delegates in regards to their country's position on the topic being discussed. Is that clear? So when that phase reaches, you don't again raise a motion. You only raise the motion when the chair has opened up the floor for motions or points. Is that clear? You have a question too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of what we should say?
I give you an example of what you should say. Okay, assuming I'm the delegate of United Arab Emirates, okay? Okay, normally there is a podium, so you come in front for the opening speech. You come in front on the podium. So the chair is always in control of that. You normally have to, when you come to speak, you have to reflect on that MUN program because it times you. Yes. Remember we talked of how you yield your time to questions, to next delegate, and to the chairs. You only do that if you are timed and you are reflecting on the MUN software. It's unfortunate that maybe someone can time me so that I do it. Anyone to help me time me? Yes, you just click on because I'd paused it. No, I paused it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable delegates, I bring you greetings from the President of UAE. And in regards to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, UAE stands with the Ukraine position. UAE believes that the war is not the way to solve conflicts and arguments. We believe that it is all about negotiation. So UAE advocates for negotiation. It also advocates for the two countries to come on table and talk and reflect on the various common points and differences to see that they don't entirely use the power of weapons to destroy the property and to make people move out of their countries without their will. Thank you so much. Honorable delegates for listening to me. So now, when you look at that, the UAE delegate has given a speech. He has thanked the chair, acknowledged the audience, and he has spoken and he has left out 6 what? Seconds. Okay? Now, if I was the chair there, I would tell you that, yes, the delegate of UAE, thank you for your speech. But you have 6 seconds remaining, Okay? How would you love to yield your time?
I would like to leave them to the next speaker.
To the next speaker. You even state the speaker. Okay, Ecuador. So, the delegate of Ecuador, the delegate of UAE has yielded 6 seconds of his remaining time to your time of speech. Okay? Is it okay?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, the delegate. Thank you, delegate, for inviting
United Arab Emirates. Perfect. That is one. Another one, let's say you yielded it to questions, okay?
To Switzerland.
Okay, that's fine. Now that is a tick, okay? You now know how to yield it to the next delegate. Now take an example if you are yielding it to questions, okay? Now when I gave the speech, I was like, we believe these two countries should come together and look at their common points and the differences and resolve them, not basically by using the power of weapons, to cause displacement and all that. So when I yield it to questions, okay, now you ask me in regards to the speech that I've given. So for example, if my speech was in support of Ukraine, now the delegate of Russian Federation might raise and say, the delegate of Russian Federation is not in agreement with, feels that negotiations might not work out because, okay, you might ask, the delegate of Russian Federation would love to ask the delegate of UAE of how best the delegate believes that negotiations can solve this conflict. Let's say that. Which approach should be used for the delegates to resolve, or for the two parties to resolve this conflict. So now it gives chance to the delegate of UAE to now start responding. The chair gives them a specified time to respond to that question or to the questions that might come from the audience. Is that phase okay? Is it okay? Now let's do it again and see. Okay? Because it is the core. Once you master that, that is what we are going to be going through always. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to, it's okay, you can take back your seat. We're going to try it out. Now, after UAE, I give the floor to the delegate of Ecuador, okay? So the delegate of Ecuador also speaks if she wants to yield the time, or if she completes the speaking time, that is, the decision lies to her in regards to what she wants to do with the 1 minute and 30 seconds. Okay, now thank you, the delegate of UAE, for your submission. Your submission was good. We are now moving to the next delegate. Okay, the delegate of Ecuador. You have the floor with you for 1 minute and 30. Yes.
What if a delegate cannot comprehend the total speech in 1 minute?
What if the delegate cannot do what?
Cannot
use all the.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yes, if he needs more time. Yes.
If he needs more time.
A delegate needs more time.
It's longer than 1 minute.
Yes. What the chair just stops me, or.
Oh, when it goes beyond 1 minute and 30 seconds, actually we normally in other MUN summits we have warning signs towards the end. You get it? Exactly, and then when it is done, we let you know that the delegate of Ecuador, your speaking time is over. Yeah. Okay, so the delegate of Ecuador, you have the floor for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Delegates. Ecuador wants to approach the Russian invasion in Ukraine by explaining the fact that due to the Russian sanctions over its transport.
Yeah, I know you didn't research about the topic. Don't mind, just submit.
Ecuador has lost a large part of its resources. So we want to ask you to maybe redistribute the stocks of our banana so that our resources are well managed.
Okay, thank you, the delegate of Ecuador. You have 33 seconds of your remaining time. How would you love to?
I wish to pass it on to the next speaker.
Yeah, the delegate of Switzerland, the delegate of Ecuador has yielded her remaining speaking time of 33 seconds. Time, is that fine with you?
Can I politely decline the offer?
And she's right. You can give an offer, okay? But then the person you are giving the offer to is not okay with taking it. It is not mandatory that entirely the next delegate can take it. He has the right to say no or yes. So in regards to that, your remaining time is automatically assumed back to the chairs, okay? So thank you for your speech. We shall now move to the next speaker, and that is the delegate of Switzerland. Sorry. The delegate of Switzerland, please.
Honorable Chair, can I start?
Yeah, you can start.
Honorable Chair, honorable delegates, Switzerland has come to say that we would like to remain with our position that we have had for many years by being natural, by not taking anyone's side in the conflict, but we cannot deny that there is a very big loss of grains and things from Ukraine that were imported in all Europe and world. So I would like to actually the offer from UAE, United Arab Emirates. I would like to continue with that offer for Russia and Ukraine to come together on neutral land and have a negotiation about resolving this war peacefully.
Okay, thank you, the delegate of Switzerland. Your speech was very productive, and you have 18 seconds of your remaining time. How would you love to yield your remaining time?
I would like to yield it if anyone has two questions, if anyone has questions.
Yes, honorable delegates, the delegate of Switzerland has yielded her remaining time of 18 seconds to questions in regards to her submission. Are there any questions to the delegate of Switzerland? If you have a question towards the delegate of Switzerland, please raise up your placard. Yes, the delegate of France.
How would you like, or no, how do you want Russia and Ukraine to come together in peace?
Well, first of all, of course, each descended delegate, and to negotiate because to solve this conflict from the root problem, which I think was some areas that Russia wanted but Ukraine would not give. Maybe they could solve either splitting, Russia could take some, Ukraine could keep some, or I'm not sure, they would know whatever they want. But that's why I said for them each to come on neutral land.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other question to the delegate of Switzerland? Okay, thank you, honorable delegates. Since there are no more questions to the delegate of Switzerland, we shall now switch to the next delegate, and that is the delegate of Brazil. The delegate of Brazil, you have the floor for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Hello, Honorable Delegates. Brazil condemns for sure the invasion of Russia in Ukraine, but we also consider that the solution for this conflict is negotiation of peace. We consider that Brazil is open to help the two countries to negotiate the peace of the war, and we consider that sending weapons to Ukraine is not helping in obtaining the peace, because nothing helps with weapons. Each countries are important European Union construct and also in the world of in the United Nations institutions. That's why Brazil considers that the war should stop as soon as possible, and the only solution, as we said, is to negotiate. And I think that all the countries involved in this conflict and all the countries that are helping Ukraine should consider and to be open to a discussion regarding the peace in Ukraine, the peace between Ukraine and Russia. Brazil is not a country that wants to negotiate alone with the two countries. That's why we consider that setting a table.
Delegate, your time has elapsed. Oh, but thank you for your speech, and yes, your submission. So, honorable delegates, the floor shall be opened up again for motions, for any motions or points on the floor. Are there any points or motions on the floor? Now, you realize that the delegate of UAE, Ecuador, Switzerland, and Brazil have given their speeches. So we don't exhaust the general speakers list, because when we exhaust it, the debate automatically what? Ends. So we leave at least some delegates on the general speakers list to keep it active, because once they are all exhausted here, the debate automatically what? Closes. So we've left the delegate of Ghana, and we shall go back to the general speakers list. But now the chair now at this point in time opens up the floor again for any points or motions. And in this, the motions we are looking at are those that can take us to the moderated what? Caucus. Are we there? Or the unmoderated what? Caucus. Then if we go through this, for example, the moderated caucus, we can now go back to the general speakers list. And in this point in time, you are free to send notes. When you read those rules of procedures, you're always free to send notes to add your country back to the general speakers list. Because the general speakers list keeps on running and running every after the moderated caucus, every after the unmoderated caucus, we go back to the general speakers list. If motions fail, all motions fail, we again go back to the general speakers list, then again look for other motions. Is that clear? So now we are going, I want you to switch because we are soon finishing. I want a delegate to raise a motion to lead us into a moderated caucus, and I see how that feels, okay? Is that clear? A motion to do what? To help us go to the moderated caucus. Okay, so honorable delegates, are there any points or motions on the floor? Now, when I say points or motions, utilize the points part, because when you use them, there are marks given to that. There are credits because they give awards at the end of these sessions. So, even if you are not, okay, I'm not saying you use them for fun, but you can, like now we've been debating, you can raise a point of personal privilege just to make this realistic, and you want to maybe use the washrooms. By that, it's a credit that delegate of China is using the rules of procedures. You could raise a point of personal privilege for the windows to be closed or for the windows to be opened. Basically, to make it realistic that, yes, someone understands the rules of procedures and how they are used. You can raise a point of order, and you like, chair, point of order, or I mean point of parliamentary inquiry. What does the moderated caucus mean? Because we might be switching to that, but you are not aware of what it means. So I want you to productively use the points, because it is the ones we look for, then we look, and then we switch to the motions. Is that clear? I want you to use these points very well and the motions. Okay, honorable delegates, the floor is again open for any points or motions on the floor. Now, before I call, or before I state that are there any motions or points on the floor, you shouldn't raise your placard before hearing that. Okay? It is after the chair stating it that are there any points or motions on the floor that you are now legible to raise your placard. Is that also clear? Perfect. Okay, honorable delegates, the floor is now again open for any points or motions on the floor. Are there any points on the floor? Yes, the delegate of Ghana.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I would like to use my privilege point to close the windows.
Okay, she's right. Now, the way you phrased it, okay, it is okay being a beginner and we are learning. That point is in order. They are already adjusting the windows, but you would have phrased it in a way that, yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. The delegate of what? Let me see. Ghana, I would love to raise a point of personal privilege for the windows to be opened because it is too hot in here. That is one way. Or for the windows to be closed since it is too maybe cold, or it is, you get it, eh? Yeah.
My decision, I understand. I needed to motivate my decision.
Exactly.
Okay, because it's too cold.
Okay. So now it's up to the chair to authorize that, and let's the delegate of Albania.
Honorable Chair, I would like to raise a point of personal privilege to use the restroom, drink water, and take my meds due to the fact that I just left my
Yes, the delegate of Albania. That is in order. You're free to use the washrooms and.
The delegate has to say that out loud in front. Couldn't we just approach the chair and maybe ask privately?
No, it is not private.
So if I want to use the restroom, I have to say.
Washroom. Or may I? You might phrase it in a closed way. Okay. You get it? Yes. In a more diplomatic way. Yeah, not necessarily describing what you're going to do. Okay. I think that is taken. You wanted to say something?
Yeah. We would like to raise a point of personal privilege as we haven't leave.
Oh, you want to leave? You need to leave? Okay, so now the chair acknowledges it, but of course during the committee sessions, that one is not acknowledged, not until, but since we are in learning, that can be acknowledged, but in real committee sessions, you have to be in the all. Yes, exactly. You serious on the point? Oh. Yeah. Okay, now I would request that we stay for 2 minutes to just switch to the moderated caucus, then you go, okay? So are there any motions on the floor? So we are done with the points. You don't only use the personal privilege point, you're free to use the parliamentary inquiry point and the point of order as well, okay?
So the motions can be related to the election we carry anymore. For example, to establish a buffer zone. The motion to be raised to establish a buffer zone.
Can the points be what?
Motion.
The motion, yes.
A motion can be raised, for example, to establish a buffer zone.
Yes, now for the moderated caucus, you have the main topic, okay? The main topic is Russia-Ukraine conflict, okay? But within it, there are subtopics you can derive from the main topic. For example, that topic can yield or can give birth to topics like, 1, addressing the human rights violation that is arising from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. That could be a topic to be considered for a moderated caucus. 2, addressing the refugee crisis, the refugee crisis challenge arising from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So that can be a second subtopic that can be raised in the moderated caucus. Or addressing the issue or the challenge of food insecurity that is arising from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So basically, the moderated caucus gives you a chance to further digest this major agenda into various subtopics that can be discussed in stipulated times. So you're now free to raise a motion, a 10 minutes moderated caucus motion, for example, on addressing the food insecurity challenge that is coming or arising from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Each speaker, now that's why I explained that for moderated caucus, you even specify the speaking time for each speaker. Is that right now? Can we have an example? And okay, first now, honorable delegates, the floor is now open for any motions on the floor. Yes, the delegate of UAE.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The United Arab Emirates wants to propose a motion to establish a buffer zone of around 150 kilometers around Zaporozhye nuclear power plant for the power plant not to be attacked by any side, for the welfare of both sides and all nations. So in the buffer zone, any military troops from Ukraine, the Russian Federation, NATO, or any other state alliance or alliances may not enter that territory.
Okay, for more guidance, now your point is like a solution, yes? Now, in this moderated caucus, you don't need to explain. You get it? You don't need to explain your solution. You pick the subtopics. I've given you, for example, examples of the subtopics. There are many that you can dive in from the major agenda, and it is those topics that you base on and attach the speaking duration for the caucus and also attach the speaker's time for each delegate. You get it? For example, I can stand and say, thank you, Honorable Chair and the Honorable Delegates. The delegate of France would love to raise a motion to move into a 10 minutes moderated caucus on a topic addressing the food insecurity arising from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and each speaker will be speaking for 1 minute. Have you heard that? You've stated the topic, you've stated the time, 10 minutes caucus. You've also specified the speaking time for each speaker. Is that fine with you? Then another delegate of USA might also raise another motion, a 15 minutes moderated, not necessarily sticking to 10 minutes, no? The delegate of USA might stand up and say, thank you, Honorable Chair, the Honorable Delegates, the delegate of USA would love the committee to move into a 15 minutes moderated caucus on addressing the human rights violations arising from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, each speaker speaking for 30 seconds, or 30 seconds per speaker. Any way you phrase it, as long as you specify the speaking time for the speaker, specify the duration for the caucus, and highlight or bring out the topic that is going to be discussed in the moderated caucus. Now, does that make sense? Okay. Now, let me now have that motion raised and see. Okay, honorable delegates, the floor is now open for any motions on the floor. Are there any motions on the floor? Now, on raising your placard, you should be serious. Don't try to raise. You should be serious and it should be visible. Are we there? So when you raise it like this, as if you are fearing, like it gives the chair questions of whether you're rising up or not, okay? Okay, so are there any motions on the floor? Yes, the delegate of Ghana, and then the delegate of UAE.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, delegates. I would like, the delegate of Ghana would like the committee to move into a moderated caucus of 10 minutes on the topic of inflation due to the Ukrainian-Russian war. And each speaker has the time of 30 seconds to ask.
Thank you, the delegate of Ghana. That motion is in order. Okay. Now, honorable delegates, are there any seconds to the motion of the delegate of Ghana? If there are any seconds, please raise up your placards. Objections? Now, if you have to choose two sides, the side of seconds or the side of objections. It means that now the delegate of Gabon was seconding. The rest, the placards were down. Now, as a chair, it automatically tells me that you're on the rejection part. Then when I call for rejections, you all keep quiet. Or you don't raise your placards. You get my point.
But is it possible to abstain in this situation?
These are now procedural matters. You don't abstain, okay? You don't abstain in procedural matters. Okay? Okay. The delegate of Ghana has raised the 10 minutes moderated caucus on inflation that is arising from the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and each speaker will have to speak for 30 seconds. Okay? So this motion, are there any seconds to this motion? Those supporting this motion are to be discussed. Please rise up your placards. That's what I mean by seconds. Okay? Are those against? Yes. Okay, objecting the motion. Now, you don't have to abstain. You get it? You don't have to abstain. So if 5 have supported, I expect 10 to reject, okay? Is that clear? Yeah, so this motion will now move into a voting procedure since there were seconds and objections, okay? Now, delegates willing to vote in favor of this motion to pass, please raise up your placards.
A question, do I need to vote?
Yes, yeah, because it's your motion. Oh, yeah. Okay, now delegates wishing to vote in favor of this motion, that is a 10 minutes moderated caucus on inflation arising from the Russia-Ukraine crisis, please rise up your placards. Okay, those are against the motion. Okay, honorable delegates, we had 6 votes in favor and 9 votes against, and this makes this motion to fail. Are there any other motions on the floor? Delegate of UAE.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The United Arab Emirates would want to have a motion to establish a buffer zone around of 150 kilometers around Zaporozhye nuclear power plants, and no military personnel should enter the place. Only maybe UN peacekeeping forces.
Okay, what was the time? The caucus time? For how long do you need this caucus? 10 minutes. How many minutes per speaker? How many minutes should each speaker take? 30 seconds. So we've received a motion from the delegate of UAE of the need to establish a buffer zone in regards to the nuclear weapons and the ongoing military actions of the crisis for 10 minutes and 30 seconds for each speaker. Are there any seconds? Delegates seconding this motion? Those against the motion? Okay, you've now got the idea. So now, since we had 2 in seconds and majority are objecting, so this motion automatically fails. So now in this, there is something we can have. When now all motions fail, we go back to the general speaker's list, where we now receive opening speeches. Then again we take until we get a motion that passes for the moderated caucus or the unmoderated caucus. Have you got the idea? Yes? Have I painted the picture? Yes. Yes, now you can. Yes, okay. I think we can, honorable delegates, we can end this at that. It's a lot we can learn, but I believe you've picked, or you have a painted picture on how MUNs are and how proceedings move. So here things are a bit hard because it is new, you didn't research and all that, but now in unorganized one, like the one of tomorrow, people have read the rules of procedures, they have researched, so things are going to be so perfect in terms of moving on. And they will simulate all the sessions, the general speakers list, to the moderated caucus, to the unmoderated caucus. Then later it switches us to drafting of the papers, voting on the papers, until the final draft resolution is obtained. And for that said, we beg to end that at that, because it's a lot. These hours alone can't be enough, but I know with time, through TUDRO, the SG, and Rotary E-Club members, sessions shall be even organized online. We can even have online trainings on this, and so that in preparation for our future conferences, whereby when we reach there, you know how to raise a motion, you know what the general speakers list means, you know how to move to the moderated caucus, to the unmoderated caucus, how to come up with a working paper, a draft resolution, and all that. So there's a lot we can do, there's a lot we can learn, but basically we were here to paint a picture of how things work out. And I believe at least you have 50% of what is involved in that. You just need to now perfect and read on your own. These things are there. We could recommend websites. You can use the Best Delegate website. It has the A to Z of Model UN. You can also use Rotaract Global MUN also has materials like rules of procedures and past study guides you can read through. There's also the MUN website that has conferences. I would recommend it for you to look through and you apply and have these exposures. There's also waisme.com. It is also a learning platform for MUN. Has all the materials that you need, how to chair, how to be a delegate, how to organize. So it starts with you by now having a self-driven drive towards learning about MUN and now putting it into action by participating in the various summits and workshops that are organized locally and internationally. So with that said, I beg to end this session at that. And so in real procedures, you raise a motion to adjourn, okay? You raise a motion, but we want, yes, delegates, are there any motions on the floor? The delegate of Brazil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The delegates of Brazil wants to set a motion to end the conference.
Okay, that motion is in order and it automatically passes. So honorable delegates, the conference has come to an end. You are free to move around, to interact and make friends. Thank you for being a good audience.